Solana altcoins will produce crazy gains this crypto bull market, and in this video I want to show you which are my favorite altcoins, what I'm looking into when it comes to entry, so specific entry triggers on the charts, and also potential price targets for some of these tokens. Let's just start quickly with Solana, because really this has been the best performing asset from the big boys. It's obviously, we had the capitulation here around FTX, but since then it's been on a massive tear, and we are currently sitting pretty much at all-time highs. Actually, last week we had an all-time high on Solana, but I think things are just starting to really get hot with Bitcoin hovering around 100k. Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer play when it comes to the ecosystem, and I've been positioning myself, but I'm still looking for some entries into the ecosystem. And as you can see here, I believe it's not a crazy thing to say that potentially as price targets on Solana, we could go to something like 400, 500 bucks. I think it's realistic if we get a leg up above all-time high, and potentially even $600 to $1,000. These are, I wouldn't be waiting for $1,000 Solana to sell, because this is another 5x from here. But I think anything between 400 and 600 are quite realistic targets if we look at the fib extensions here. I think this is fairly reasonable if we get a real, bull market in altcoins. And of course, this from here to, like, say $600 is like 3x, which is nothing crazy. It's still a lot, but it's nothing crazy. But the ecosystem on Solana and the meme coins especially have been ripping. But I do think we're about to hit a switch in the market where we'll be going back to utility, and memes will kind of be second tier coins nowadays. And I really think that the good coins on Solana will start outperforming compared to the meme coins that were outperforming until now. And there are several picks. I want to start with those that I personally own. So I do have some Jupiter. I really like this project in general. I like the product. They're excellent. I'm staking some Jup. I'm probably going to be qualifying for their future airdrops. But just outside of this, if you have absolutely no exposure to Jupiter, I think it's a really nice looking chart, honestly. I've been trading this in and out. I've made some money on it, but really, I built it up a position the last time somewhere around this area, because as you can see, it's a really nice accumulation pattern. And I love these patterns, especially at this stage of the bull market. It still hasn't gone parabolic. It's really accumulating. It's just coiling up for a potential blow off the top, and I think it's fairly soon that this will happen again, with the caveat if we really get a bull market and something really tragic doesn't happen to everything. But we've been ranging, and I would say even like this last few months here, it's been a very clean breakout on the range. We didn't we almost failed to close. We almost got back into the range. We almost failed to break out, but as you can see, this was the election pump pretty much. We had a massive run, and now we're just consolidating, and this is starting to look like a bull flag to me. I still haven't added. I'm just keeping my original position, but I am considering adding, because we've reached this level, and I don't think it will be late even to take a breakout above this area. So if you don't want to DCA somewhere in this area, if we get another attempt at this, I think things could start accelerating fairly quickly. And even if we look at the weekly, you see that we got another pattern that I really like. It's here it is. So we had a push, then we consolidated again. We didn't make lower lows here on the weekly, so on the higher time frame. We started climbing up, creeping up, higher highs, higher lows, and now we got another push to break out of this zone here pretty much of accumulation, and now we're retesting this breaker here. So we're testing this area right here, and as you can see, we're failing on the weekly until now. Today is Thursday. We're failing to break down below this level, and it's really nice level that you could trade it also on the daily. So I would say that even if you start building a position here anything closes, like weekly closes below this level, it's a very good risk to reward right here. And if obviously we start breaking out of this descending triangle or a flag, whatever you want to call it, but I think once we start showing some strength on the lower time frames, like on the 4 hour, if we start making higher highs and higher lows, this will definitely be a place to add Jupiter, just because, you know, as I said, Solana is already heating up, and this one's been a little bit lagging. Another one that I have in my portfolio and I want to add to is Parcel. So this project, I had some airdrop. It's a really nice real world asset play. I actually quite like the product itself. And it's a relatively low valuation. And as you can see, it had its sell-off, and very clearly we had a shift in the market structure. And we had then another push, and now we're again, you know, preparing for potentially another leg or consolidation a little bit higher. So very clean chart. It broke out of this accumulation here very nicely. The trouble is that, you know, obviously we had a bit of a sell-off after the airdrop, because it was an earlier airdrop, and they will have second and third season, I think, of the airdrop. So potentially there will be some selling pressure. But generally speaking, I think in a bull market, people that get airdrops tend to keep them, not just sell, like what happened here. We were not in confirmed bull market here. There was a lot of selling pressure on Bitcoin. It was chopping around. People were selling, including myself. I sold my airdrop. But in a bull market, people tend to just hold it. And as you can see, very clean pattern here. Again, similar to Jupiter actually. We had this flag, which was above this accumulation zone. We had a flag. Yesterday it broke out, and now it's back at this level around 50 cents. And if it starts breaking above, I think we could see another leg higher, because this thing, as I said, it's a lower market cap, and you can see these patterns here play out. We have big pushes, and it just fails to make lower highs and lower lows. So it's keeping the trend really nicely. And I'll be looking for something like this. I might add a little bit more, honestly, if this level keeps. So if we go down a little bit to the 4 hour, you could see that we're shifting here structure. And if we go back to this area, maybe I'll add a little bit more, but I'm also okay to just hold this and see what's happening. And again, invalidation below this like 33 cents level is pretty clean. So it's up to you to decide if you want to have this, maybe do some research. Obviously, don't just blindly ape into those tokens. But I think it's a relatively good bet on the lower market cap. Another one that's big is Giro. Giro, I traded some here on this leg, made some money on it, but now I don't have Giro, just because, you know, I want to stay focused on a few tokens. I don't want to like own a shit ton of tokens in this ecosystem, and potentially I'll be looking to add another one. So I don't own Giro. I have only Jupiter and Parcel for now. But again, very similar pattern. It's looking actually a little bit stronger than the other tokens like Jupiter for now. And you can see that it's still like accumulating, but here on the lower time frames, like on the daily, it failed. Like this entire, keep in mind, this launched in December last year, so it's out for a year, and it hasn't made a low. That is very important. Obviously, after, against Bitcoin, this has been bleeding, so it doesn't look great. But on the USD chart, it's been looking great, and here we have again part of accumulation within the accumulation, and now it's starting to trend upwards, and you can see very clean trend of higher highs and higher lows. So I'm personally not interested in Juto right now, but maybe, you know, if some of my other positions starts running and I take profit, I might rotate some into this. But if we get any near this area around $3, or if we consolidate somewhere in this area and potentially above below the all-time high around $5, I think that's just a very good trade. Obviously, we got to see how the price action will look like, because it could just go like this, but maybe if it consolidates somewhere in this area, I think it could be a good entry, even though it's higher. It really depends at what stage we are when this happens, you know, and all of this. You just need to monitor, you know, but I just like this chart also. It's very, very good looking. And I think there are very, very clean levels to trade around, and also to place your stop losses, because here if we drop below 250, which is from here around 25 30%, which is quite steep. That's why I'm saying, like, if we get a discount here and we get closer to this level, it could make for a very nice trade. So that's Giro. Another one is Tensor. This is the second most used marketplace in the Solana ecosystem. Again, you could see very cleanly where the airdrops happened. It had a push, but it sold off. And now it's just reaccumulated here. And it's starting to show strength. Again, it doesn't look parabolic. It doesn't look extended. It seems like people still haven't really started trading those like more utility tokens, not just memes on Solana. Obviously, the risk is that maybe some of these don't catch fire, or they're not that big of gainers compared to some other tokens. But it's just, TA wise, very clean charts here. And another one, Tensor, even this level that it's preparing to break around 60 cents, even if you just trade around it, I think it's very good. And you can target, obviously you need to manage this with position sizing because it's quite steep here if you use this as a stop loss, 30%. But then the target, at least to this prior high here, it's like 4R. So, it's not a bad trade. And obviously this is just the beginning, because something like Tensor, especially now with also Magic Eden doing their airdrop very soon, if these start catching fire, these could do crazy multiples. Obviously, we don't have that much price history, but I wouldn't be surprised if this does anything between 5 and 10x if Solana goes to like 500. It's not out of the possibilities, and we've seen this in previous bull markets when one token in the ecosystem starts running, then people are rotating into the next one and into the next one. It's quite interesting to see how everything develops. Another quite popular token and quite useful, I would say, is Pyth. This is like the link of Solana. And again, something similar. Something that I don't like about this one is that it has a little bit more of sell-offs here before it started trending, because this is still an early token. It's from February this year, so almost like Giro. But compare this chart to Giro. Like Giro didn't make new lows, while Pyth did. Although, if we ignore this part, let me just hide it. You'll see that again we have perfect accumulation here, right here. And you could play around with it, but this entire thing for me is accumulation. It's trending upwards, so you could see very clean trend, higher highs, higher lows. We don't even need to draw this, but I think this is a very significant level for Pyth. You could say that this here was the first initial breakout, something similar to Jupiter. And now we're starting again to accelerate the trend a little bit more than the rest. So I think any retrace maybe into this area could be a good buy with the stop below this 38 cents level. So if we get an entry here, it's around 13%. And we don't want to be back, below this level. I think we've had plenty of touches. Price could have retraced already, but we didn't even get a daily close here below this level. So any little retrace that you get, I think this could be a good buy for a trade. Again, you could target prior highs, or you could just aim for higher targets, but I would definitely be taking profit here around 80 cents to $1. I don't think it's a terrible place to take profit, and that's like 2 to 3x from where we're right now, and potentially if we get a little bit lower, a little bit better return. But this is obviously not my favorite token. There are a couple ones, 3 actually, that are looking a little bit more interesting. One is Cloud. Honestly, I don't know what they do, but you can see the chart. They had an airdrop as well. This is one of the airdrops that didn't really sold off after they launched, and very clean structure. Like, it doesn't get cleaner than this. Check this out. Like, perfect lower, higher highs, higher lows, and you got perfect retest here pretty much. We got a wick. So even right here, as price is starting to curve, I would maybe wait for a little bit more price action here in this area and see if this level will hold. But you could make the argument it already retraced, and if we use the FIB retracement tool here, you'll see that to the high, we're at 50% retracement, so maybe a little bit deeper. It could go a little bit deeper, but this is a really nice area to trade around. And Cloud is still, relatively low cap, and it's still in a great trend without seeing that much of a parabolic run. It did have something like parcel, so you could see the similar pattern that it pushes, then it makes a retrace, and then pushes into new highs here. So maybe we'll need a little bit more time to see how this chart develops. I'm monitoring it for now, but even if you don't want to play around this level, I would say there's a very clean all-time high breakout. You'll pay a little bit more, obviously, but I think it's worth it because it's such a clean level to trade with several touches. And if we get another one or two here, you know, maybe you get a higher low here, and then it breaks out. I think this could also make for a very decent trade. So up to you, depends on your risk tolerance. But this one is also quite interesting. And there are a couple of AI plays within the ecosystem that I'm interested in. So first one is grass. This flew right out the door. You know, it just, I don't know what to say. The moment it dropped, I think they also had an airdrop. It ran up to like 350%. So this is like 4.5x. People were flooding it. People were shit talking it because of the small airdrop. And people were shorting it very heavily. And this actually accelerated the trend. I was watching it here, but honestly, I didn't want to trade it at that time. But you could see how clean these charts are. And that's the good thing about altcoins. They're not big institutions that are interested primarily in Bitcoin. And you could see how clean these trade. It's just the perfect ascending triangle breakout. And then it just took off. Obviously, we had the same pattern here, pretty much. So several ways to enter this early. And this is what I'm looking now for, something similar going forward on grass. Although it's had a bit of a run already. But as you can see, if this thing just gives us a little bit more time and consolidates, you could use this or this. You know, I don't use that many lines like this, but the horizontal level is obviously this around 350, 360. And if we get a few more touches here on consolidation, I think this makes for a nice trade, because right now on the higher time frame, if you take a breakout, it's 50% down the pivot low. But on the lower time frames, you know, maybe into here, you know, if it doesn't give us like a little bit more consolidation here, if it just starts breaking out, maybe something like this could be a decent trade. But honestly, I don't like it right now, so I'm just gonna be watching how price action develops here. But this is an AI play that it's quite interesting, and I think also has good potential for developing. IO is another one. This is again an AI play. As you can see, the weekly, it's a little bit older token, so middle of this year it came out. The weekly is starting to get a little bit extended, but nothing too crazy, honestly, right now. You can see that we again had a sell-off after they had their airdrop, because it was earlier in the year and Bitcoin was chopping, accumulation, and now the first push above this level. And you could see very healthy action just above this level. You know, we're testing it, but we're not breaking above it. And now we're just slowly creeping upwards. Usually how these resolve is in a massive candle to the upside, if obviously the trend is intact. But at some point, people start, you know, catching a bit of this, and they see that, you know, it's an AI coin, Solana, whatever, they track the narrative, and it just starts flying. I think this is quite possible here. I don't have a position. Honestly, I was waiting for a little bit more downside. So maybe if we get, because pretty much on the, if we jump down to the 4-hour chart, you'll see that we started pretty much breaking into new highs somewhere around here. And the retrace, I was waiting to see if we can retrace here. We didn't, so I didn't manage to enter into a position. But technically, this was a great entry here around 250. And now let's see if we get another retrace or maybe a little bit more consolidation here. That will give me the entry that I want. And keep in mind, I'm not in a rush for these because I'm very allocated. I have just like 10% cash. Probably even less. So, you know, I can be picky, and most of my portfolio is doing all right. And I'll probably do a video about my portfolio and what I'm holding and what I'm looking into. But yeah, I'm not in a rush to get into any of these right now, but I'm monitoring these charts because there will be trades, and there will be, as you can see, none of these is looking wild. None of these are like extend it to the upside. And I think if we get an altcoin season, the proper one, I think all of these have great potential. You just have to, pick your poison, because just in this ecosystem and the AI video that I did, there are a lot of tokens to look for. D-Bridge is another one that, this is a weird case here, because I personally don't use that much D-Bridge. I did the airdrop, so I did a lot of transactions. They still owe me half of my airdrop, so I didn't like the way they manage it. The bridge itself is very good. The price action is decent, so it's not, there's not that much price history, but as you can see, it's kind of coiling for a move. Let's see if it's going to be to the upside or to the downside. Volume is falling, at least on KuCoin here that I'm watching. But this is a play for layer 0 as well, because I do believe one of the narratives for the bull run, not the hottest narrative, but it's the omni chain. So the issue that we have between different chains, and bridges like D-Bridge, like layer 0, are going to do very well. And if I just quickly show you the layer 0 chart, see what I mean. This thing, I have a position in it, but this thing is looking just picture perfect accumulation and very close to a breakout. And if this starts running, the entire ecosystem of bridges and stuff, people will start looking and betting on it. And D-Bridge is, I think, smaller cap compared to layer 0. I think it's got potential. It's got potential just because the product is good. There are other picks that I prefer compared to this, but this is on the Solana ecosystem. I wanted to point it out here. And the chart is not looking terrible. It's a bit wiki. I cannot tell you honestly where to enter here. I'm just staying away from it from now until it develops a little bit more. But yeah, something to watch if the narrative I mentioned starts heating up. Drift Protocol is another one. This is a DEX. It's a perp DEX on Solana. It also had an airdrop. Honestly, this wasn't on my radar at all, but it had a very, very decent chart. Even on the higher time frames, on the weekly, you could see very clean, retrace, higher high, higher low, and then the actual push that happened here. I don't know what the hell happened, but this thing flew. This thing was up, what's that? 600%, so 7x in a week, which is crazy. It actually happened in just a couple of days, so crazy. Maybe they got some listing, I don't know honestly, but this is something to watch, because what usually happens, it happened also with Parcel, not to that extent, but it had a push and now it's consolidating. So if you see drift starting to reaccumulate like it looks like it right now and not break into new lows, I think sometime in the future this could be a good play as well. So yeah, just a little bit more price action here, and then but if you're really a fan of drift or really want to invest in it right now, I would be looking for entries in this area. So if Bitcoin does something and we wick somewhere into here to grab some liquidity here on this candle, this is like 20%. So if we get a wick and then we close somewhere above this level, above like 120, 150, 120, I would say you could entertain a position with a stop below the low. So that would be a 10% and target 50% higher to this range that it's forming right now. There's not much information in touches, but I would say this is not a terrible trade for drift, because it keeps you, in these things that are not so clean on the chart, the closer you are to invalidation, the better. And I think that's very key. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you really want to trade this, I would be looking for the best possible scenario and the closest that you can get to invalidation. And I think this is the way to trade this, because you could first of all scale up if you want, but also even if you don't scale up that much, if you want to keep your risk low, monetary, like not percentage-wise, but like money-wise, I think it's the best strategy to do with these tokens. Another one is Radium. This is like the biggest DEX. This is where most of the shitcoins are trading. And again, another one that wasn't on my watch list at all, but you could see it's been doing very well. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is the full chart, but I'm not going to look into it right now. But we had a secondary accumulation here. First one was here. And this was long time. This is like almost a year, like 9 months of accumulation. Now it's starting to trend. No pullbacks. I do believe this is due for at least some accumulation or a pullback, because On the weekly, it's quite extended in my opinion. It's almost parabolic, but it's normal for this to be one of the first ones to pump, because what people are thinking, okay, I got a lot of shitcoins, I'm trading them on Radium, I'm making money, hopefully, because very few people make money trading shitcoins. Let's put it in something else. Oh, what else? Radium. I'm trading on Radium. Is there a token on this platform that I'm using? Let's buy into it. So this is usually how it goes, and you can see that it's looking strong. It had a retrace here. It's people gobble it up, and it's now trending nicely. But what worries me is the weekly. So what I would say as a priority, I would obviously trade dealers, but you know, if we see another leg of accumulation right here, or maybe a nice little washout to this level, maybe if we get that deep, that could be a nice bounce play as well. This is what I'm seeing. And potentially, if it doesn't and it just rips, again, the all-time break, it's not a terrible trade in a bull market. You know, in bear markets and in chops, it's the perfect recipe for getting demolished, pretty much. But I would say on the lower time frames, like this is the daily, a breakout here, or maybe if we get somewhere in this area, it wouldn't be a terrible place to bid some, if you really want to have some Radium. That's everything for this video, guys. As usual, I will keep you updated on other system tokens that I'm interested. And yeah, if you like these videos, stick around.